Welcome to the Rush Roundtable. This is episode number, what did I write down? 258. No, so episode 258, where we're still pretty much taking a little bit of a sidestep from discussing snakes and arrows. At this point, we're looking at opening the Sears Wish book and thinking of some of Alex Lifeson's solos. I mean, we're all going to agree that basically every Rush song that was put out was as perfect as they would get it, as perfect as anyone would, better than we probably a lot of us would, of course. It's not like, they knew what they were doing because they obviously did. But the idea there is that what if there were some songs where maybe we wanted to hear a solo on it? What if there were songs where something could have been changed, which seems like it's an awful lot of hubris to say Lifeson should have done that differently. But hey, this is the internet. We're here just to kind of speculate and get weird. Obviously, we're recording not too far before holidays. We have our Christmas garb. It's probably a little too late for someone to order some merchandise for Christmas that you can find down below, but you could still order it. And also, it's not just Christmas. Oddly enough, this year, Hanukkah is around Christmas time. There's Kwanzaa, there's Ren Day, St. Stephen's Day, awful lot of holidays at the middle of next week. So
Festivus.
that's right. And for the rest of us, there would be Festivus. So we can't forget that. I haven't even sought out a new aluminum pole, mostly because I never had an original aluminum pole. So I guess I'm just going to run with that. So at that point, getting into this with the esteemed panel where we have Rob over to my, I don't know if it's my right or left. It depends on what you're watching. And down below, we got Kira, we have Paul. While we're at it, since we're pointing around, we could still point downward and say, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to share this thing if for some reason you feel like other people need to see it. And I said merch, Kofi, affiliate links. There's a lot of reasons to go down below and take a look at what's happening. Paul's got his Rush Fans mug, which is more of a sticker. So you can definitely score a sticker. It's not as big of a commitment as a mug. You can get a bunch of stickers, stick them on everything. Then you're making your commitment after the fact. Anyway, after a world of digression, let's get into talking about Lifeson solos. So since Rob is up here brightening up the top part of the frame with me, what what song came to mind for you when we were starting to think about this wish list of what we would do with the solos?
Well, two popped up right away. The first I'll talk about is Witch Hunt.
Hmm.
So on live versions like Grace Under Pressure, there was a solo. Kind of. It's more like, I would say solo loosely because it's more like guitar fills that were happening, on the way out on that song live. But I would love to have heard a solo on that studio version of the song, Not taking anything away from Geddy with his keyboard, iterations, but that would have been great to hear something along the lines, whether it's something harmonized with Geddy or somewhere within that song, it would have been really nice. Maybe in the very beginning, instead of having that sort of
Hmm.
bell sound in the beginning, that could have been a spot maybe perhaps for a little, something something from Alex. So that's the first song that popped into my head.
Interesting, yes.
Sure.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, for anyone who's been in bands, which obviously a lot of people watching this channel probably have played in bands, because a lot of people who listen to Rush play instruments. If you've been in bands where you write songs, you might realize that, you're coming up with something, you start playing, you're going to probably change your parts if you're, writing and playing original music. So it's sort of you come up with what you do, whether you're at home or in band practice, you play a couple shows, that didn't work, that worked. You get another idea that you wouldn't have had in the practice studio that hits you live. So yeah, if they had like, and that's something I remember Eddie Van Halen once said that I think once they got a little into their career, he was missing the fact that they would have that live punch hitting the clubs on the Sunset Strip for before that first album, so you know what the audience responds to. Whereas then you're so far into a career, it's kind of like, well, we're living in the studio. What do we like? Yeah, I could see that being the case. Anyone else got opinions on Witch Hunt?
Good choice.
Okay, so anyone that knows me knows I adore this song. Totally underrated on moving pictures. I think it's better than Tom Sawyer, but that's not a discussion for another day. I think that this song, because it has this drawn out crescendo of an intro to where you have the bell and then you have all the people laughing and it just becomes louder and louder. I was in marching band, so I think of it this way. This would be an incredible marching band show if if there was a solo in the middle of the song, I think, because you have all this like drama and it's very, very theatrical up until they get to the lyrics. And then after that, it's just kind of steady in terms of the melody, and we don't really get that build up again. And
Mhm.
I feel like if you put a solo in the middle and you gave it that little bit more build up, it would be an incredible marching band or Werner Guard show. Like I would spin to that song, but in its form, the way they recorded it, it's too short. It needs a little bit more pizzazz. It needs a little bit more storytelling to it. I think it could be longer. I think they could have made it more of an epic song, kind of like Natural Science, maybe. I don't think it should be as long as 2112. Like, no. But I think it could have benefited from being a bit longer. But it is still an incredible song, and I would
Yeah.
still, if I had the chance to be in marching band again, and someone said, hey, you want to spend a witch hunt and do a very, very dramatic show? I would be extremely happy to. It would be absolutely epic. You would have like the guard running away from the band, and they would have torches. It would be full production.
That already sounds like a production. Nice.
I'm sold.
Yeah, like
Well,
if Rush was writing in the era of CDs and not records, they would have had more space on the album. They could have had so Camera Eye and Witch Hunt both could have been epics
yeah.
if they desired. I see Paul shaking his head. Any thoughts on that?
I actually, Kira
Those are the thoughts.
did it well.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any new
Nice.
thoughts on that, but good choice.
Yeah. Well, what about let's figure out what Kira had for other songs. The Witch Hunt was a great take. What were you thinking of a different song?
So for me, though I agree with everyone's choices. I'm just gonna say to the audience, because we all talked about these before we got on. One of the first songs or the first song that I thought of was driven because, hear me out, because the solo that Getty plays in Rush and Rio, and everyone knows I've watched that live show like a million thousand times. It's my favorite. That solo is killer. While fairly simple, it is killer. And Getty doesn't do a lot of bass solos. And I feel like that should be in the recorded version, that solo. That would be really, really great. I mean, listen, having it during the tour is a nice surprise,
Mhm.
but really, chef's kiss. It should have been in the studio. That is my hot take.
Didn't even think of that one.
No, I didn't either. I had guitar in my brain. I didn't even think about
Yeah.
it.
Well, yeah, we were talking about Alex's, but
Bass-wise.
as far as the Getty take, that's a really good one.
Yeah, yeah, nice. That's the Christmas surprise.
Yeah.
Or overall holiday surprise. Interesting. Yes, yes. Paul, what you got?
All right, my first one, I went with How It Is. I know Vapor Trails is going to be easy pickings, so I'll try not to delve too much on that. But as far as with How It Is, with so many strumming acoustic guitar and then the electric lead lines, the interlude that starts in at 246 after Foot Upon the Stairs, Shoulder to the Wheel leads into another chorus at 316. Another cloudy day, seems we'll never see the sun. Put a soaring two-string solo at that part before the chorus. I think would fit perfectly, and mood wise, it still sticks. So it's staying in the confines of the song. I think it would take it somewhere that it didn't go. I'm not saying it's bad without it, but I think that would add something to it. And then also to at the ending with how it ought to be, rather than slowing it down, have an outro solo that lifts, like again, soaring. The song fits it, and then have that one of the few times I'll say have that fade out, sort of like a High Hopes David Gilmour thing where the outro solo fades. But I think given the upbeat tempo of the song, I would prefer it to end like that. I will go, I guess that's my hot take, is that I'm not as wild about how the studio version of it ends, and I think a long outro solo would really suit it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my first one. Ryan's
hear
probably rolling over
string
like it's
guitar
fine
parts.
as it is. But
Well, that's as they say, that's the thing. It's weird to sort of second guess them because I mean they had their 40-year career. They were
right,
they were uber
do it on
professionals before the
R40.
80s hit.
Surprise us on
Yeah.
R40 with it.
Well, but
That
I
would
mean
have
that,
been
but that's as I say, that's part of the thing. If you're in a band, especially a band that's so professional and not playing live performances, there's a different energy for writing in the studio, writing for the studio that you don't really get to experience. And then, hindsight's 2020. So after the fact, it's sort of, hey, this is what if we did this? And obviously with people like Neil in there, they're just looking forward. But but at the same time too, there is that, as I say, it's a holiday wish list of what if, parallel universe or jump in the TARDIS, and there's got to throw in that kind of sci-fi geek reference. But I'm wearing an X-Files shirt. Everyone's got it, some Christmas or Rush stuff going. Hey, well, go figure. Um, anyway, for myself, one of the things that really came to mind was New World Man. I feel like the recorded version, I like it as it is. It was never one of my favorites. I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't, for Signals, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go right to New World Man. Subdivision, sure. For many of us, that was the theme of our life growing up. But I got to dodge these lights here. But it's the sort of thing where I had to lean over, basically. Also, bonus points for anyone who can figure out what solo I'm in front of, which I did type up. I wasn't just like copying and pasting. So I'm trying to avoid any copyright issues. This is something I typed. Yay, Guitar Pro. Anyway, what was I saying? New World Man. Thank you. Basically, you kind of listen to it and think you could tell the Police influences there. Even the way Neil was playing some of his fills. I'm not a drummer, so I mean, Rob plays drums. If we had Jim or Paula C down here, we could maybe get their take on Neil's drumming and that. But I like it. I like it, the idea that live, if they were playing New World Man, they could have kicked into that, like the Police on Can't Stand Losing used to kind of jam that out more live in the 70s and whatnot. There was a bootleg going around that it came my way in the early 90s, and then they put out their live album with some 1970s where once again they stretched out Can't Stand Losing. And I thought that's something that Rush could have done if they had the wherewithal in the 80s to not just recreate the album songs verbatim. It's like, all right, what if Neil kind of kicked into a beat that was fitting but a little different? Getty could kick up the bass line a bit. Lifeson could take his soul. They could trade off, kind of like Kier was mentioning with Driven.
Mhm.
The idea of something like that. And I mean, as I say, live, yes. On the album, it might have been a little too indulgent on the album. But I mean, Andy Summers, and that's probably what he was thinking. Andy Summers sometimes didn't have a solo, or he might have just had four measures. Sting's over there. Say it. Get out. I'm back to lyrics. Not that I'm trying to impugn Sting, but I don't know. It was just something that came to me immediately.
good one.
A great one.
Very good.
I'd want to hear that.
Can I guess the solo behind you, Alex, or should we leave that to the viewers to guess what the solo is there behind you? Because I know what it is.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of figured. I figured you probably would.
Yeah.
And I would assume that maybe some viewers might, if they're inclined. Basically, I'm not looking to get up and stand around, but I feel like the beginning of the solo could be a little more straightforward, and I feel like the triplets probably could be distinctive if someone has played it and is envisioning what to do. Also, I think I might have typed a note backwards. Did I type? I don't know. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I think it goes begin with a 12th fret. I think I might have done it. Anyway, even if I missed a note, it's just a background here.
Yeah.
Typos happen. Typos definitely happened in tab books back in the day. Don't get me started on Queensryche's Empire book. Anyway, Rob, what else are you talking about for some songs aside from the solo by me?
Yeah, I mean all the choices are great, as Kira mentioned. Excellent picks. I would say Vital Signs. If I stick with moving pictures, there's no solo on there. Great bass solo though. That's thing. My brain is all in guitar mode, so I'm thinking of guitar for all these choices. But the bass solo is killer, and there weren't many to be found. Very much like the cowbell has been remiss on Blue Oyster Cult songs, so why not a bass solo? So you got one. I think it's great. But I would love to have heard a guitar solo in there too. It would have been nice. Maybe two of them could have worked something out with like on Witch Hunt, have some kind of guitar bit going on there, some kind of trading off, maybe more contrapuntal with a harmonized solo between the two of them. But I digress. That's the one that just like the first selection I chose that just popped into my head immediately. So one album, two opportunities to have a guitar solo on two different songs. So same side.
And then the irony where you're talking about moving pictures side two, originally I remember an interview, I can't think of when and where it was, where Lifeson said he didn't want to do a solo on Camera Eye, and it's one of those dramatic solos that he has.
It's one of my
So,
favorites. Yeah, there's
yeah.
a lot of chunk in there.
Cool. Kira, what else are you thinking?
Well, so for this next one, I actually went to Google and I found a Reddit thread because I was curious about what the public thought. So shout out to Reddit for all that use it. There are some great answers, and there are some songs that were repeated over and over, Witch Hunt being one of them, Vital Signs being one of them. But there is one song that was only mentioned once or twice that I will defend. Those might be a tough one. It is Second Nature by Hold Your Fire. Everyone knows I love Hold Your Fire. I will defend it till the day that I die. It is my second favorite album other than Clockwork Angels. So I'm extremely biased. But Second Nature with the keyboards, it has that kind of opera feel to it, kind of like Available Light, though they're not the same song at all.
Right.
But they're mine, but they echo each other. And Hold Your Fire, the keyboards and Alex are like so blended together. They're almost like you don't really know which is which. So I kind of feel like Alex could have put in a solo. I'm not really sure where. Musician in training, so please forgive me. But I feel like he could have put a really good solo to just offset the keyboards a little bit. Because the keyboards are beautiful. But Second Nature with the solo in it, oh my God. Oh my God. I would totally go crazy.
Well, I can probably help you with that.
With the keyboards.
Yeah. That was my second pick as well, so I can actually help you flesh that idea out a bit. The second chorus at 237 is today is different, tomorrow's the same. It ends with to fight the fire while we're feeding the flames. At 309, there's a synth interlude. So do it on an acoustic 12 string with a little bit of effect, and it'll blend really well with the synth. And then keeping it in the spirit of the main melody of that same interlude, but on an acoustic 12 string. Finger picked. So when he comes back and does the pick slide on the electric, and it comes back into the last chorus, where, it ought to be Second Nature, and he does that really cool pick slide, it leads from that acoustic 12 string doing the melody back into, that pick slide will be jarring in the right way. In other words, it'll give it a punch for that last chorus. So, to flesh the idea out a bit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's in mentioning that as far as the 12 string, it made me like when I was listening to some of these, I took a listen to excuse me, Mystic Rhythms, wondering if because I feel like the interlude fits. It's what it is. It's meant to be there. But I just thought, what if they did do something more a little more involved? Not that I'm trying to this wasn't really my third pick or anything, but Paul kind of led us. We got a nice little curve going around the table.
Yeah.
Where it's like, Kira's got this, Paul picks it up, we're just playing volleyball here. Basically, I was thinking that as far as what you saying the acoustic 12 string, I thought with Power Windows being recorded in the mid 80s. And also in autumn of 1988, there was an issue of Guitar for the Practicing Musician magazine that had an article or just a short couple of pages on, hey, here are these famous players. What are your favorite guitar albums? And of course, Alex Lifeson listed, Hendrix, Zeppelin, but he also listed, King Crimson, Discipline, Steve Hackett, Voyage of the Acolyte, Bill Bruford, Feels Good to Me. So at that point, because there was no internet, I had to look up, who's this Bill Bruford guitarist? The guy on, playing drums phenomenally on Crimson's Discipline album that was listed. Anyway, my clueless youth notwithstanding, it's the sort of thing where I just thought, you have a song like King Crimson's Discipline where the hands of the drums are in 17/8 or 17/16, depending on how you count it. The feet are 4/4, the guitars are in 5/4. So it's the kind of deal where, I thought, if Leifson and Lee decided to get a little adventurous, they could have gone a little crim on us with that one for Mystic Rhythms because it's all polyrhythms. But that was a real digression as I was driving back from getting groceries last week thinking about it. So it's like that would have been over the top for the two of them in the mid 80s, I feel like.
It's a
This
wish list.
yeah, it's a parallel universe type of thing. So, anyway, with that in mind, I think I'm just going to see what else Rob has to say to us.
I was gonna go to my next pick, but I had another one that I thought would be really good to pop in there, and it's Losing It. Because it's got a violin solo.
Right.
I never really heard a violin solo the way this song presents it. I heard Robbie Steinhardt in Kansas do the solo on Dust in the Wind. That was sort of my first, seeing a violin or hearing a violin in a song, a rock band, progressive band. And I didn't realize on this tune that it was electric violin. I thought it was Alex playing a guitar solo. When I first heard this song way back,
Yeah.
I'm
Same here.
like, wow, he sounds so much different on this song. And I didn't realize, of course, you can just read the liner notes and you'd find out, oh, Ben Mink played the violin solo. And I didn't realize because the tone was sort of distorted, it's like a light distortion. I saw like, wow, that's great. Alex could just play that. I thought that was the deal. So I think very easily, not to take anything away from Ben, Alex could have did the solo no problem. Or again, there's another opportunity where maybe perhaps the two of them could have worked
Trade
something
off.
out.
Yeah.
It may have detracted from the song, but Alex, the way Alex is, I don't think that would have happened because he's very sensitive to the music and he would find his place like he always does
Yeah.
on something like this. So I thought that was a great spot, where that could have been an easy guitar solo right there, or so harmonized, another harmonized thing, which isn't something Rush usually does, but Rush would often saying that's not Rush isn't part of the vocabulary. They would never say that about themselves.
Right.
So that's my take that I wasn't going to say till the end, but I figured there's a good spot to put it. So,
Well, who
I
knows when the
actually
end
have
will hit.
something to throw on that. It's not Alex's playing, but going off IMUR off Getty's Lost Demos from My Favorite Headache, that has a guitar that goes into a violin solo very, very well.
yes.
So if it was that kind of give and take on Losing It with Alex and Ben, for example, I think that'd be incredible to hear. Again, maybe a live thing or something like that. That I'd really like to hear that.
Yeah, that's a good, even better take than mine.
No, I wanted to support it, to add
Yeah.
to it.
It's excellent.
Well, and that's kind of like the trade-off with certain, twin guitar bands, whether, Maiden or Queensryche or Judas
Queensryche.
Priest, the idea of back and forth.
Yep.
But, eh.
Yeah.
Kira, you got any other stuff to throw down there?
So I'm gonna end my selections with a twist because I think that there's a song that some people argued on Reddit that should have a solo that I think is fine the way it is. I'm just like totally going off the track here. I'm very sorry. Manhattan Project from Power Windows. I think Manhattan Project, while it may be good with the solo, it's a historical song. It's a much more direct meaning, talking about this, big event and the use of nuclear weapons and how, just like the scale of it. That I think this song is perfectly written the way that it is. Like it doesn't really need like a solo. I don't know if you guys get where I'm coming
Oh,
from.
yeah. Yeah, like the idea that there are people who would say there should be a solo, but it's like,
I prefer strings in almost everything, so yeah, I would prefer the original, but that would be interesting to hear what Alex could have done with it. I prefer the studio version as well. But
yeah.
what could he have done with it? Maybe something interesting. Who knows?
Well,
I really like the ending guitar. It sounds pretty good, but I just feel like it's just one of those songs that doesn't really need it. I think it's written musically perfectly fine the way that it is because I mean, really again, the focus is on talking about history and what we can learn from it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like with all the songs on Vapor Trails. I'm sure Lifeson was in the studio thinking this isn't about me. This is, Neil's back. And that's kind of where a lot of solos came out of. You figure originally they would be, maybe thought of as a lead break, because what is properly a solo guitar? Brunsbane and Hope. What were the Rush solo guitar parts? Brunsbane and Hope, done. But it's like, yeah, these are lead breaks. Hence the bluegrass term of breakdown, which has been co-opted by hardcore metal and punk people. Because breakdown really was in the bluegrass genre. Someone's playing the progression, and violin take a solo, mandolin take a solo, banjo take a solo. Let's solo for an hour and a half. It's lead breaks. But yeah, I mean, like Kira was saying, certainly the idea that, well, there's a sense of reverence there. The U.S. government said, hey, at this point, we're going to incinerate two cities. And then start a modern age post World War II. So yeah, it's not really, for any of those Reddit commenters, it's like, nah, it's fine the way it is. Yeah. Cure brings in the flip side of it.
The
Nice.
photo negative of the episode.
And that's why this is the wish list. We're discussing what would we want, but what's being said on the street. Maybe we think they're ridiculous.
That would be the coal in the stocking. That is
Nice. Yes, you get coal, people.
The naughty list. Yes.
Yeah, nice. Anything?
People who
anything
say
to
we
down there?
never have any altered opinions.
Any? So Paul, any other options here?
Yeah, I got one more. I wouldn't necessarily call this a hot take, but it's the one that I had to do the most imagining for it to actually work. But I picked Anagram for Mongo. Second chorus, obviously very synth and piano-based, piano-sounding song. And most of Alex's playing is very like bottom support level, some palm muted stuff. But second chorus ends at 209 with the night is turning thing, the sin is turning to sin. And then measures of synth replaying the melody at 224. It gets into like an electric piano sounding interlude on the original studio recording. As much as I like that interlude, and that's why this one's sort of a struggle for me, because I really like that song as is. What might work is, since Alex doesn't have much to do in that song, a slightly extended solo played lower on the neck wouldn't be that out of place. Modest and simple, even playing the chord structure of that piano interlude. So that, dun, 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 just do that on the lower end of the neck and have it be Alex playing instead. I'd be interested to hear that. So, again, since he's minimalist is the word I'm looking for, it would be Alex playing and the guitar would be more prominent in the mix. But again, I like the piano, so that one's sort of I'd be interested to hear it more than, ooh, I really want to. It's like, I'd like to hear that for comparison purposes.
Or if he's low on the neck, it would have been interesting, given that it was just a scant year later where Twin Peaks hit the screens, and he could have had Lifeson could have had a baritone guitar just to play some low, clean notes.
Yes.
Have David Lynch calling him up. And then stop and think about the fact that Twin Peaks was on regular network TV for 2 years at the beginning of the 90s. This doesn't have anything to do with Rush solos. But there was a time when network TV would put Twin Peaks on TV. I'm just saying. Moving on. That's your Christmas bonus. Not that exciting a Christmas bonus, I know, but that's what a lot of people have been saying over the last month. Now, I got I one of the other options I was thinking of was, what would I want to hear on Entre Nous? I wound up jamming this with some people a few years ago, and I just kept thinking, like, what would there be for a solo? I mean, we played it verbatim, but it was just like, what would there be a solo? What section would be conducive to a solo? This came to mind. Now, I'm gonna say one more thing with this, and then turn it over to the gang more so. The thing with this, Headlong Flight, love the song. It'd be ridiculous for someone to say they didn't, even if they're like, "Oh, I haven't really heard it." Listen to it. You know you love it. The solo fits. The solo is perfect. but there's something about it that I want to hear something different, actually.
Hmm.
Whenever I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking the way he comes in, it's like, how, what else would he have done? But it's like, there's something there that it's like, I want to hear an alternate take. Like what did he come up with a different solo? What else would he have jammed out? I mean, I like the solo, I like the song straight through, of course, but it's like, I want to hear the remix version. I want to hear the Victor remix version, basically,
Yeah.
which is really just maybe a different solo. Not that I'm coveting Rob's shirt, but I'm totally coveting Rob's shirt. So, but yeah, this is us sitting around not long before the holidays hit, talking about solos that Rush has done for half an hour, and we actually are at the half-hour mark. So, do we have any other closing statements that we might want here?
Hmm.
I think we might have said all we need to say.
Yeah, in the
Well, it's
comments, let us know. Okay, yes, maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. Are there songs we didn't pick where you're saying, why didn't you come up with this one? I think this. Be specific if you can. Let us know what you think. Get a dialogue
and
going.
and certainly as far as those dialogues go, this is just, internet speculation. This isn't, hopefully no one would be taking this like, oh, you ruined my favorite song. We don't want to ruin anyone's favorite song. This is just people talking about, what do we want to see? We're not making any statements. You don't have to agree. You can agree, whatever. This is the
We're
way
not
life
bashing
is.
any songs, criticizing any songs.
Yeah.
This is
We-
just some playful banter about, well, what if they did this? Or what if this was this way?
Yeah. About a band you love and means something to you. So,
All Rush is good Rush.
and yes.
Right.
Solo or solo-less?
Now that being said, so Paul, I assume we're on break for a couple weeks. No videos.
We're going to have
after
one
this?
more. We got one more
Okay.
coming. And then we'll take maybe a 1 or 2 week break and we'll see everybody in the new year. But there will be one new episode next week. And then we will trip over ourselves to enjoy our holidays.
So this will be up this week. Another one next week. And okay, there you go. So a couple more for you in this year, and then the new year hits quicker than because we have our 2 weeks where everyone just gets to be, I don't know, we just pretend time doesn't exist for 2 weeks and then get back into it. So groovy. So thank you for joining us. If you went this far for 32 minutes of us just speculating on solos, be they Lifeson solo, Ben Ming solo, Getty solos, we know Neil always had an awesome solo, so that's a different story. So Rush solos, and yes, exactly. That's another episode. But anyway, again, thank you for joining us. Check out the merchandise. Nicely designed RF logo. There you go. And then we'll see you. I'll see you in the new year when we get back to talking about snakes and arrows. But we'll see you in further episodes. So again, thank you for joining us.